Hello and welcome to the Bad Take. This is Tamara.
And this is Himal. We're back after some time for about, I don't know, it's been about 3 months since our last episode.
Been close to 3 months.
Yeah. That's actually technically not true because we were just recording an episode and somebody forgot to hit record. And we have been, turns out we've been talking for half an hour, 30 minutes, 40 minutes. And
No, in my defense, I did hit record, but only for one microphone. So
right, sure.
Anyway.
Okay, great. Anyway, so we're gonna. What the fuck are we gonna do now? I don't know. Okay,
okay, so we were just we were giving a long excuse for why we have not been doing this for 3 months.
Yeah.
But first of all, the devastating attack on Easter Sunday, and after that, Himal was basically pretty busy doing his job. And so was I.
Tamar was busy as well doing his thing.
So we finally found some free time, but today I guess we'll do a bit of a catch up as to what happened after that. And
we'll just keep it restricted to the online space,
right.
Specifically Twitter, where you and I both are active, and then I think most of our listeners are also off Twitter, from Twitter. But anyway, I think we were trying to get into a conversation about how Twitter had kind of transformed since the attacks.
Yeah.
And I guess to a lesser extent since the coup last year, since October 2018, where there was this influx of new accounts, new anonymous accounts, and then particularly in the aftermath of the Easter attacks, following the government blocking of social media, Facebook and WhatsApp and Instagram and whatnot, there was, as some people call them, Facebook refugees, say Facebook Saranagatu, who signed up en masse, and basically resulting in the follower counts shooting up quite significantly for I think most of us. So Twitter has been undergoing some changes, I believe, and we have not done any scientific study on this whatsoever. So it's just purely based on what we have observed on our individual timelines.
Yeah. Before any of that, why do you think the government didn't block Twitter?
I guess they didn't think it was just big enough at the time. But then they did block.
They did, the second time around.
And people were joking that it's because, like, remember how everybody was talking about how Twitter was the exception because at least we are and then most people are saying, like, a lot of people are saying, like, don't jinx it, and then it turned out I don't know, maybe somebody had alerted the president, I don't know. It's, it's not like he didn't know about Twitter. He has an account. I don't know, for whatever reason they deemed it fit to block Twitter also. I don't know what the official numbers are, like how many Twitter users are there in Sri Lanka. Do we know?
I'm not entirely sure, but I remember someone sharing some stats. I'll try to find it and we'll post it in the show notes.
So that's what we were talking about, or we were trying to get into.
You were saying something about how Twitter had transformed from like a very closely knit community to like a much larger place, a diverse place, you called it.
Yeah, so me, the sad sack that I am, I've been on Twitter for 10 years, an entire decade of my life. So at the very beginning of Sri Lankan Twitter, I think some people, there were a few people who signed up in 2007 when Twitter launched.
Old tweeps
as they're called. A lot of the so-called old tweeps, I think, joined in 2009.
Right.
Back then it was a very small community of mostly a lot of tech guys, some writers, bloggers, and that's how I got on it.
Correct.
A couple of journalists, and then there was the very first Tweet Up SL in 2010, which was attended by I think no more than 100 people. It was held at Coco Veranda, and while it was certainly crowded, there was enough space to basically accommodate at least like the active Twitter population.
Right.
And then it kind of grew from there, right? Like it started attracting more people, and then the corporations came on board, and then they kind of hijacked the whole community thing, the whole Tweet Up / whatever, and then the social media heads took over, the marketing guys, and I will take some blame for that. And then it got bigger and bigger, but it was never this big, right? Like But I think, especially since last year, since all that shit was going down politically, and there was a sudden increase in anonymous accounts.
And a lot of bots too.
Yeah, lots of bots. And no, I mean, it wasn't just because of that. Before that, like, gradually there's been Twitter, Sri Lankan Twitter has gotten more and more political over the years.
Yeah.
There's so many journalists and activists and lawyers, human rights lawyers, constitutional experts. Get a lot of them and expressing different opinions on Twitter. So it was only going to grow, right? And we see that happening. We've been noticing that for a while now. But particularly since the coup and the Easter bombings, it's just there's been this explosion of political thinking on Twitter. This is what I've noticed. It's become very polarized.
True. Yeah.
You see a lot of anti-Muslim bigotry, which was kind of the exclusive domain of Facebook back in the day. But yeah, this time around, it's become particularly vicious and divisive, and
Yeah.
it's all very interesting and kind of depressing, really, for an old tweep.
But then this is what will happen to, like, even if you started a new platform tomorrow, it will grow to what Twitter has grown to over time. When people join it and lots of different ideas and opinions start to appear on it. I think what I saw, especially after the Easter Sunday attack, was that a lot of people were not afraid to criticize the people in power and their inefficiency and
people are becoming increasingly vocal in their criticism of the powers that be, which is always good to see.
But then that also quickly started devolving into the two camps.
Right, exactly, yeah.
Yeah, that always happens.
Yeah, like, I mean, whatever display of unity and solidarity in the, like, immediately after the attack, and then that was like nearly 2 months ago now. Right now, it's gone from that to the usual bickering, right?
Yes.
It's which is unfortunate. We were not able to sustain that momentum, but I don't know that. I mean, obviously, a lot of it is organic, but I feel like some of it is also by design, because you get all these accounts who are kind of there to stir shit up, right? It's kind of what they do. But I won't name names. So, like, people are allowed to have different opinions. That's fine. Yeah. It's just that some of it, like, observing it is over the years as we have, like, some of it appears a bit more insidious and a bit more calculated. And it's been interesting just watching the evolution of Twitter over the years, especially the last few years, the recent past. It's been quite interesting and also sad, because I wonder if it's becoming another Facebook.
Well, I think Twitter themselves have said that they are trying to implement tools which will help them monitor the health of conversations. I don't know where they are with that now or what even is happening, but even if they implement those tools on Twitter, I think it like localizing those would be a huge challenge. I think that was the case with like monitoring hate speech on Facebook as well, because the nuances of the local languages don't really reflect the speech patterns and writing patterns that are in, like, English or other languages.
But they have a team now, right?
Apparently
Facebook
they do, but there was an article on this which I will try to find and link up in the show notes, which basically explained the challenges in monitoring things like hate speech, for example, across languages. Right. And like you mentioned earlier, one of the things that happened after the events on April 21st and in the aftermath was that a lot of closet racists came out of the woodwork.
All the closet racists are coming out of the woodworks, which has been quite disappointing, frankly, because a lot of these people are people I personally respected and who's but at the same time, though, I wouldn't be too quick to judge anyone, because I feel like this is such an unprecedented event, right? Like, we haven't experienced an event of this magnitude, I think, apart from the tsunami. I mean, after the end of the war, I mean, it's to a lot of the younger people, I think this is a very new experience. Most of us grew up with the war, and we were used to hearing about the odd bomb blast. I personally have, as a reporter, I have covered some bomb blasts, and I've seen some of the carnage personally, and it's not a pretty sight. And but this is on a completely different scale, because there has never been a time when we've witnessed an attack of this. So it's a lot to take, and I guess people respond to it in their own way. So it's easy to kind of cast aspersions and just call people racist or whatever. Not that they aren't being racist. Maybe they are. It's just I would just hesitate to kind of alienate them and just move them completely out of the conversation, because
Yeah.
I feel like that's not very productive.
True.
You
Someone said on Twitter that maybe we should identify those opinions and ideas as
Right.
racist, not the
Right.
person,
exactly
because the person, like,
Yeah.
those ideas can change and the person
Right.
can grow.
right.
So yeah, I think maybe like when we encounter these things, like some people are openly racist. You can see.
Yeah, my personal opinion is that at least in some cases racism can arise out of ignorance, although others disagree with that, which is fine. But if you can at least engage such people and maybe have a constructive conversation with them, and
Yeah.
maybe the idea is to just make sure that they don't end up going down that dark path, right?
True,
Like you
yes.
try and return them.
And also, like, what happens when you, for example, kick them out of a platform or like
Yeah.
try to shut them up, then
You're
they
talking
go
about the
on
whole deep platforming thing, right?
yeah,
Oh,
like
that's,
they
that's,
go
a,
on.
that's a whole other can of worms.
I mean, I think my thought is that it's always better to have them on and then engage with them and
right.
maybe try to
There's
change their
some
minds if
there's some
possible.
people you just cannot,
True, that's true. And also, you don't always have the bandwidth to deal with
right.
all those.
Right.
But I don't know. I don't have a solution for it. But then, when we try to silence those people, what happens is they go underground and they
No, that's
those things
true.
fester, right?
That is true, but it's such a tricky thing.
True.
On Sri Lankan Twitter, you notice that like certain accounts who are politically aligned one way or the other, and
Yeah.
they're always trying to push some agenda, right?
Yes.
And I'm not talking about the overtly political ones. I'm talking about there are certain accounts that you can get you just look at the
Yeah.
feed and you can get a sense of where their loyalties lie, right?
Sure.
And at first glance they may appear independent and but not really, they're not. And
Yeah.
how do you can't, there's no point engage in them also, because they're obviously going to stick to their guns and they're not gonna and because of that it's a very difficult conversation to have also.
True.
And also this is it's a very sensitive thing. I mean, these are
Yeah.
trying times. Nobody wants to be lectured on what's correct and what isn't, and what's right and what's wrong. And
True.
I personally don't know what to do. This is one reason I don't engage on Twitter at all. I'm rarely active on social media now. I don't post anything on Facebook apart from the odd article. I don't tweet very much. If somebody responds to whatever I say, I may engage if I feel like it, if I'm in the mood, but not really, because I feel like there's no point anymore.
Yeah. Is that something that you do consciously to avoid all the drama, or
That's one reason, I guess, but I just don't have the headspace for it, for one thing.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't be bothered, because people are going to think what they think, and like, I'm not gonna say something and then waste my time defending myself. I did that. I used to do that, not anymore. Like, fuck that, man. I can't.
True.
And I'm fully prepared to accept that I may be wrong half the time. I'm sure I am. I mean, we're not perfect. We're not infallible. Like,
Well, I mean, I think my views also align with yours. But I do like what I found myself doing was I think I tweet more than I used to, because
yes,
sometimes I feel like I really
everybody's
have
noticed
to
that you tweet more than you used to.
really have to say some things, but I don't know if it has been useful or not, but it has been taking my time a lot, so I'm trying to do that less now. Yeah, like, those times when you really have to, like,
No, don't let anyone stop you from speaking your mind. Share your pearls of wisdom, please do.
I don't have pearls of wisdom. That's the problem here. Yeah, I have like half-baked opinions on most things. But anyway, yeah, I think talking about speech on social media is a very tricky topic, and I try to always be open to other points of view and make sure that everyone has a chance to be heard. And I don't believe that people should be like unfairly demonized for the views they hold. I want to believe that people, are open to change their minds, but that doesn't always turn out to be the case. But it's very tricky. It's an occupational hazard, I think, of being on Twitter.
Yeah, because some people are just not willing to have their beliefs challenged, right? They
get defensive.
I mean, I guess most of us are, right? I try to be as open-minded as possible at all times, but it's not easy, right? I mean, we're only human. Thankfully, there are some people who you can kind of have some kind of constructive conversation with. Like this morning, for example, I tried to do that with Ashen. Hi, Ashen, if you're listening. But that kind of went south, I think. But it's okay. Ashen is a smart guy. We have people like that on that we can hopefully have.
Yeah.
Yeah,
true. And like I think you mentioned it during that exchange, a lot of people resort to straw manning, which
we all do it without realizing it, to be fair.
It's very hard not to do it.
Yeah.
That's very true. Okay, so what else on Twitter is working?
Twitter, I mean, this transformation of Twitter has been interesting, and but it's also it's all very heavy stuff. So
yeah,
you want to talk about fucking Curious Cat? Yeah. Tamara is an avid user of Curious Cat.
I'm not an avid user. I have an account.
Like my timeline is flooded with his responses to all these deep, probing questions about his life and his psyche and his
outlook.
I think the
only deep question that I got was, what is a piece of advice that you would give to anyone?
Yeah, at least nobody's asking you about your period. I think I saw a question about somebody's period. Thank you.
True. I mean, I don't know. A lot of people it's weird that given anonymity, like the stuff that people resort to, but then again, you can't not expect it. It's
yeah, man. I don't know. I mean, like this is gonna sound like terrible victim blaming, but whatever. You just what the fuck do you expect? You put yourself out there. You open. You invite all this probing, and like people are. You get the trolls.
Yeah.
You get the usual gossipy types, the nosy parkers and all of them who they're obviously going to ask you personal questions, and when they do,
we have a choice not to answer them.
Yeah.
We can just delete the questions or just leave them be. But a lot of people are choosing to answer very
and why
questions.
The fuck would you cross post that shit on Twitter? I mean, if you badly need to answer that question, you can do it. There's a separate space for that on Curious Cat, right? What is the purpose of Curious Cat anyway? Like in terms of what the guys who made Curious Cat, what is the objective? Is it like a data mining operation? Is it like
I have no idea. I guess you remember Ask.fm, right?
Yeah.
It's just
similar,
basically
right?
that.
Yeah. Okay.
I think Askfm also had these same problems of trolls getting on and bullying people and harassing people.
Yeah.
And I don't really know how they dealt with that. But I don't think I don't think it has gotten any better, because if you're fairly certain that nobody is going to know that you say something insensitive, then people are going to do that, I think.
Why are you on Curious Cat?
I was just I made an account when I was on this one day when I was bored, and that was it. I was just trying it out.
This is the go-to excuse of everybody, right? I was bored. Okay. So
yeah,
you were bored,
okay.
and you decided that you wanted to open up questions.
A new social media account.
Right. Okay.
Yes.
So fine. And then you started getting questions, and there are some questions that are generated by the app, right? By the
yes, there are.
Yeah, I mean, some of those questions are, I think, more interesting than this.
Yeah, some of them are interesting, some of them are stupid.
These are very generic questions. Of
yes,
course,
generic.
I personally I find that more interesting than all this personal shit. Unless you know the person,
True. I tried to get people to ask me about my business, but that didn't work out. I mean, say for example, our friend Nisansa is doing a pretty good job at.
Yep, the only guy on Twitter who's doing it right, I think.
But I guess that's also because he has interesting things to say on a lot of stuff, right? And not a lot of us do.
Nishant is an endlessly fascinating man, so he
Yeah.
has lots of interesting things to say. He would he's someone who I would actually follow, just because. What
Right.
do I care about how somebody is, like, okay, let's not talk about this
Yeah.
subject.
Let's not. I mean,
Let's not get personal.
it's like what we do with all other social media cranked up a notch. I think seeking
But I feel like,
validation.
okay, this may be controversial, but I feel like people who choose to answer those questions publicly are obviously doing it for the attention.
Yes, I guess.
Maybe I'm wrong, but
Yeah.
I can't imagine why else they would do this. Is there like, maybe there's like a cathartic effect of like drinking alcohol, you know?
Just venting.
Is it
putting
venting?
out
Like,
there.
I mean,
There were some people who were complaining about all the personal questions that they get,
yeah,
and some people were answering them very sincerely.
yeah.
Some there were some takedowns. So
Okay. What
all
what do you
sorts
mean?
of
Like what?
things.
Takedowns as in?
Clever comebacks.
Comebacks. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's funny. Oh yeah, I saw a few of those as well. Which kind of makes me wonder if it was like set up that way. Like, okay, I'm gonna ask myself a
be.
question and then make it sound like,
Could
oh,
be
look at
the
me being
case.
all clever. No, no, that's not fair.
Yeah.
But I mean, I take fucking curious cat over this racist bullshit that's on my timeline.
Yeah.
But God, Twitter is not what it used to be, man. And that's okay. Things are not supposed to stay the same anyway.
So you said you don't tweet as much,
Yeah.
right? So when you do tweet, why do you decide to? Like,
Oh.
how do you decide to? Like, how do you decide this is a good time to say this?
Oh,
Because I feel
don't
like
know,
your
man.
tweets are very calculated now.
No, they are not. They never have been. I have been actually been accused of that. That I put a lot of thought into my tweets, and like, no, it's nowhere near as calculated as people seem to think. It's just like 90% of the shit I say is like crap. I just like it's random bullshit that pops into my head. I just like there's no filter. I just like type it off and just hit send without even thinking. And then like 2 seconds later, I'm like, oh shit, I shouldn't have said that. But but I'm trying to like minimize that now. I don't tweet as much because I think this is in large part thanks to the government's decision to block social media because I didn't get on a VPN or anything. So when I came back, I had this luxury almost of like looking at it from a very fresh perspective, where almost as an outsider, where like I see people kind of sharing their thoughts, their innermost thoughts and feelings and opinions, and I'm just wondering like what is the point? Why do people do this? Which was what I don't know if you remember. I asked a question on Twitter recently, like why do you tweet? And I got like lots of interesting responses. Most people had said that I can't remember exactly what they had said. I think some people had said it was like a form of like an outlet for them to, some people find it therapeutic, and most people, I think myself included probably, it's like you're seeking validation, right? It's a form of social approval or whatever, and which I think is what all social media is about at the end of the day. I don't know, I could be wrong. I haven't looked into the research of this, but
yeah, but then what's interesting is I agree with all of that. Of course, for me also, a lot of the time it's about validation. Even when I share something that I think is interesting, it's because I think someone else will find that interesting, and we will they will like it or share it, or we'll have a discussion about it, whatever. But then when people say that it acts as an outlet or it has a sort of a therapeutic effect, you cannot deny that they have that experience.
Oh, absolutely not. Yeah. I'm sure. Yeah. If you find it therapeutic, then I guess sometimes, I mean, when I was younger, I used to, like, this was long before social media. This is going to reveal my age. Yeah, actually, let's change the topic. Okay. Okay, moving on.
No, okay. We go on to something interesting. I think were you going to say something about writing as a form of, I don't know, like it having a cathartic effect or a therapeutic effect? Because I do that. I mean, not publicly though.
So you have a
what I do is I
journal.
have a journal.
Okay, right.
So
yeah, I think I should get into that.
Yeah, but then a lot of stuff.
No,
that I
but see, it helps for some people. What works for somebody may not work for someone else, right? Like,
True.
I have personally not found this whole venting thing helpful. Actually, that may not be true. I have had moments of where I just felt like I had to like get something out, and I would just kind of put it out into the ether just because I had no other outlet.
Yeah.
And I mean, this was years ago. I don't know if you noticed, I never ever talk about personal stuff online.
True. Yeah.
Like if you ever look at my timeline, you wouldn't know anything. I mean, you would know where I work and shit like that, but you wouldn't know about what I'm thinking about, like, you know. But some people choose to do that. Like, nah,
Yes.
more power to them. That's fine.
Yeah.
That's just not my cup of tea. I don't do that. I wouldn't say it's therapeutic for me. Maybe it is. Validation, yeah, definitely, yeah.
True.
I mean, it's designed that way, right? Like, it's the very reason these fucking like buttons and they exist at all is for that rush of dopamine, right? And then of course a lot of us use it to promote our work. That is one good use of it that I can see. I'm not going to sit here and judge people for whatever reason they choose to post things on social media. Like, I mean, if you feel like you should do it, go ahead and do it. That's fine. Only thing I would caution against is we're maybe becoming a little too dependent on it.
Right. But hey, dude, like, all credit to you. Like, something that I find useful in your tweets is that it has added a lot to my vocabulary.
What the fuck, really?
Yeah.
Dude, my tweets are like, why would I just tweet random crap?
No, I mean,
Most people would agree with me on this.
Doesn't
I tweet
matter
crap.
what the subject is.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
So
I'll take that as a compliment. Thank you.
I think somebody else had the same to say. It was who was it? It was Sampath, Radiator Monk.
Oh, right.
So,
yeah. Oh, Radiator Monk. I like that guy. We should get him on board sometime.
We should. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, at least some good has come out of your tweets, I guess.
Okay, that's good to know. Yeah. Anyway, I'm not nearly as invested in this as I once was. I just don't care anymore, I think. That may not be 100% true because obviously I do care because I don't want to look like a fucking dumbass. Although some people will say I do, but whatever. I mean, I just don't really care anymore. Not as much as I used to. I'm trying to move on from it.
Right.
Which is not to say I will stop tweeting. I will still occasionally, but I don't engage anymore. Do you still? You do, right? Your activity has kind of like, I don't know. It's
yeah, but then again, it's like this, right? You have a huge following on Twitter, right? And I assume that the kind of engagement you get is also proportional to that. Like when you tweet something, the replies, the likes you get, or the retweets, whatever, is too much to handle for you. I have a very small account, so I always engage with the same group of people.
Right.
So like have very similar conversations. So I find it as some sort of a bonding exercise on some levels.
See, that's how Twitter used to be, right?
Yeah.
Back in the day. But now, ever since they changed the algorithm, it's you can attract replies from any random person, basically, right?
Yeah.
Whoever sees who has liked your tweet, and then could,
Yeah.
Personally, that's how I end up discovering a lot of new content and a lot of new followers because
somebody else.
Yeah,
that's true. That's very true. It certainly depends on scale and the following that you have. So yeah, people don't have unlimited bandwidth. So you have to choose what you engage with, which I totally get. Okay, anything?
We have a few guests that we have spoken to who
are very keen.
Yeah, so maybe over the next couple of weeks
or months
maybe we can mention one name. Nisansa will hopefully join us. Nisansa De Silva.
He's gonna be so pissed.
Cut that out. Nisansa De Silva will be joining us.
Yeah.
Nisansa
is the most interesting person on Twitter.
Yeah, pretty much, I guess. He's kind of a genius, so
yeah.
That should be interesting.
Yeah, that should be pretty. We have a hard time figuring out what topic to.
Yeah. So we're just gonna let him basically do his thing.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So that's it. Stay off Curious Cat, kids. That shit is not good for you. It's
no.
Remember Curiosity? What did Curiosity do?
Curiosity, I don't know, answered some questions for the cat.
Okay.
Anyway, so this has been I don't know, catch up episode,
this
I
is just
guess.
actually just this episode has just been an excuse for us to basically
Yeah.
get our shit together, basically. Because we've been neglecting this, so it's good to be back, and hopefully we can keep doing this.
Cool.
Alright.
Thanks for listening in. If this happens to be the first episode that you listen to from this
Yeah,
podcast,
please don't judge us on this
Yeah.
episode.
and please check out some of our better episodes. The episode number 6 we did was
It's
about
kind of related
social,
to this. It's
related
called
to this.
Digital Demons. It's
Yeah.
It's all about social media and how to basically overcome social media addiction.
Yeah.
If it is even an addiction, we kind of examine that. So if you're interested in that, give that a listen, and we have a few other episodes. You can check out our website, thebadtake.com, and of course follow us on Twitter at thebadtake.
We'll meet up soon again for the next episode.
All right, see you guys later.